YouTube, and I haven't had a lot of time to make videos in like a year. I know this year has been a bit sparse on the YouTube front. I have a 1-year-old, so that kind of explains why. And we just finished the school year. This was my 11th year of teaching, so I have finished year 11, and I'm teaching summer school right now. So I'm still in my classroom, still on campus, and you know, like on the last day when you're supposed to really like clean up everything, put away all your books, clear up all your shelves, all that kind of stuff. I didn't really do it because I knew I was gonna be in here for summer school and I could just kind of do stuff then. So I have this big stack of books right here. Let me show you. These guys, and they were just ones that I had out, and I need to put them back on the shelf, but I don't know, some of them have been out since like the beginning of last school year. So while I was getting ready to put them away, I thought I would just talk to you about all these books and what I have used in my middle school classroom this year. Last year I taught 6th grade history and 7th grade English, so they were applicable to one or both of those things. So this is a really fun book that I actually I didn't get to use it this year. I'm gonna use it next year, so I just had it out so I wouldn't forget. But it's called Killer Underwear Invasion: How to Spot Fake News, Disinformation, and Conspiracy Theories. I follow this creator on Instagram, and I saw that she had a book. She actually has a lot of books. She has one about like bats. She has books about all these like kind of like creepy animals that are really fun. Jensen likes the one about bats. And this one is really good, and it's about, you know, disinformation. And so at the beginning of the 7th grade English school year, I do a unit on media literacy, and I thought that this would be a good addition to that unit. And I have a whole video explaining like the resources we use in that unit, and it's a fun one. And then this one, I was just thinking, actually, it would be cool if I got 2 of these and I could use these as like decorations in the classroom. If you have this kind of like whimsical vibe in your classroom, I would totally buy 2 of these books and then use them, like use these little ABCs as like a border around your classroom. I don't know if it's really gonna work in mine. I brought it to see, you know, just kind of be like, all right, is this gonna work? You'd have to have 2, you know, so that you can use like the back page. But like, look how beautiful these illustrations are. Like C is for choose compassion, D is for discuss differences. Like this could maybe even be a good like hallway bulletin board or something. E, embrace education, forgive friends. It's just so adorable. Or if you teach littles, this would be a great like classroom book. I don't know if I can like read this out loud to my middle schoolers, but I wanted to like have it up somewhere maybe, so we'll see. This is another one I just need to put away. These are good for teachers, the everything you need to know to ace world history in one big fat notebook. Sometimes I'll like take pictures of some of the pages in here and then like put them on Google Classroom if they're a good little graphic, so I need to put that away. This one, I don't know where you would get it actually, but my principal gave it to me and she received it at one of the Guru Vandana celebrations. And so if you live where there are a lot of Hindu people, sometimes they'll do like a teacher appreciation celebration thing and invite teachers to it. I've gone a couple years and it's really fun. And this, I guess, was the gift from last year. I didn't go last year, but she gave it, my principal gave her copy to me because I actually like teach Hinduism. And so it's got like yoga, dharma, sacred texts, festivals, calendar, stuff like that, Hindu arts. So yeah, I think written by actual Indian people. You know what, he's originally David Frawley. He changed his name. I don't know. But this does actually look pretty good. I don't know. So if you need, you know, more resources on Hinduism, that one's probably good. I actually haven't really had a chance to go through it yet. This is a book I've had for a while that I love. It's called Echo, and it's Greek myths in poetry form, and they work backwards and forwards. It's so creative. So actually this works better for 6th grade English teachers. Like when I taught 6th grade English, the history teachers are covering ancient Greece, and then the English teachers kind of do like the mythology side of it. So it's like Narcissus and Echo, and his poem works this way, and then this poem is actually that one backwards, you know? It's got really beautiful art, and it's just super creative, really fun. So I might use this with my summer school kids in some way. Actually, I think this one could be fun. Ooh, speaking of ancient Greece, this one is awesome. Greek myths. I had a lot of students that were very interested in this one, and it has just like, you know, such beautiful art and so much great information in it. And this one is by Jean Menzies. I think that's how you say her last name, but she's a YouTuber, like a booktuber that I've been following forever. Like, she's probably one of the first booktubers I ever followed. I think she lives in Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. And she was getting her PhD in ancient literature, so she, you know, is an expert in this kind of stuff, and the book just turned out so great. Like, I'm so excited for her. And one of the cool things is in the back, there's an index that's really good, and a glossary, and a pronunciation guide, because sometimes I'll come across Greek mythological characters whose names I don't know how to pronounce, and this was really helpful. It came in handy like a few times during that unit. So this is one I highly, highly recommend. I think this is excellent for ancient Greece. Here's another great one for ancient Greece, and I just like keep these at the front of my room during that unit, like while we're studying that unit. So like when you walk in my room, you can tell what we are learning at the time, because I've got these books out and I kind of refer to them as we go. But these are just so cool. Oh, this is hide and seek history, the Greeks. I hope that more of these come out. I would like to have one for just like every civilization, but the art is beautiful, and then you can also like learn more, like, and sometimes it's double like that, so you learn more about all these different topics, like, whoop. So you can read about it this way, and then there's like little secret hidden information, and again, just like, oh my gosh. Ooh, this one has a lot of the doubles. Oh, it goes like this for this one. The underworld, gods and goddesses. I mean, just like the coolest book ever. So your students would definitely enjoy flipping through it, but you gotta like tell them to be careful because it's got those little flaps. Oh my gosh, though, like I could just stare at this all the time. It's so engaging, it's so cool. I'm just like super obsessed. So I'll try to link all of these books below so that you could find what you want. This is another very cool one. I meant to use it all year long. I kind of remembered like partway through the year, but it has maps of every country. I love how they did like the table of contents. You find the country that you want. So like India, for example, it's on page 52. So when we're doing ancient India, I took a picture of this and then just put it on Google Classroom with like some questions that I had students answer as they studied it. But you learn geography and statistics about a country and like their animals and foods and culture and just all kinds of fun stuff. And it has just about every country. Got the maps in the back. That's always a good little reference as well. Yeah, ooh, this Egypt one. Very, very cool. So if you teach world history or geography or anything like that, I think this one is really, really fun. I love that it's so big. Okay, I think I got this over the summer and I didn't read it. I need to. It's Tales of Ancient Egypt, you know, the Puffin classics. You'll encounter Amun-Ra, Isis, Osiris. Ooh, the first ever story of Cinderella. This one just seems very cool. I need to get on that. This one I got at the J. Paul Getty Museum. A lot of these I got at the Getty. I love to buy books from museums because they've usually been pretty well vetted and they just keep like the best stuff. So this one is pretty cool for teaching cuneiform. Irving Finkel is like the world's leading cuneiform scholar. He looks like Dumbledore. You can find pictures of him or like videos of him on YouTube. And so this has really cool like primary sources within here and like actual little cuneiform tablets that we have found. So I just referenced this for myself because it was fun. Oh, this one, you know what? I found it at the library. I read the library book and then I ended up purchasing it for myself because I liked it so much. It's called 7 Voyages, How China's Treasure Fleet Conquered the Sea. And this doesn't really fit with my ancient China unit because all this happened during like the early 1400s. So if you teach world history, you should get this book, and you should do like a donor's choose or something so that your whole class can read this book, because it's so good, so interesting. You learn so much about, I think his name is Zheng He, who was this amazing navigator, explorer, and this is well before, you know, Columbus and like the European explorers on their ships, and the Chinese treasure fleet was much bigger than any that the Europeans ever had. So this is just really cool to learn about. I never learned about that in middle school, so I was happy to read about it. This one is Empress Wu of China, and this is half in Chinese, like Mandarin, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell personally if it's like Cantonese or Mandarin, and then half in English. And if you came to the Brave History Conference and listened to Tiffany's presentation, you will remember that women are very underrepresented in like world history, ancient history especially. So any information about women that I can bring in is great. So I can't even really remember too much about this book, but I think I just read it to my students. Yeah, she became the Empress. I also listened to a podcast about her. So I'm like mixing up like what did I read in here and what did I listen to the podcast? What did I hear in the podcast? It's called Misconduct, and it's done by these two Indian women, and it's hilarious. They have like hundreds of episodes. It's so good. Oh yeah, this book is great. I'm obsessed with the Terracotta Warriors. I think I have some right here. Yes, Terracotta Warriors are my faves. And this is just like a children's book about a kid who like goes and hangs out with the Terracotta Warriors in a dream. I think in the end it turns out it's a dream. And it's amazing. I love it. So sometimes, you know, just like these short little children's books, like you can still read them in middle school just for fun. This is a good one. It's very short. Again, this is a Hanukkah book. So Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins. I think I actually set it out and forgot to read it this year. There's so many, like all these little resources, you know, like you'll have stuff in like your Google Drive or books around, and I don't always remember to use them. So maybe this video will help me to remember to use certain things. But we do a whole like dreidel and latke party and stuff like that. So this kind of ties in with all of the stories and traditions about Hanukkah that we do. So I will link that one as well. This I just saw like in the grocery checkout, I think, King Tut and the Golden Age of Pharaohs, celebrating 100 years of discovery. When we were doing ancient Egypt, this just has cool pictures of like the walls of the tomb and the outside and stuff like that. So again, like even if every kid in your classroom can't see all of these things, you can always like take pictures with your phone and then just like put it in a PowerPoint or a Google Slides or in your LMS or whatever. This is another one that's always useful at the beginning of the year. This one's called Before Columbus, The Americas of 1491. There's a book that this is based on called 1491, and I highly recommend that one. I had to read it in my, you know, like master's history program. So this one kind of breaks things down, and 6th grade standards, we don't really do Mesoamerica. That's not in our textbook. That's in the 7th grade textbook, but I kind of wish they just put it with 6th grade. I don't know how we would get to everything, but if I possibly can, I try to work in some like Mesoamerican history and like Polynesian history right at the beginning of the year, just to go over like concepts and not so much like the full content. But I use this right at the beginning of the year when we do that. These are not getting put away. I'm just making more stacks. This is another one of those hide and seek history books, but this one's about the ancient Egyptians, and it's just freaking gorgeous. Like how do we even, I mean, look at that. So pretty. I love this one, and it does the, there we go. Ooh, Seth, god of disorder and storms. It's just so pretty. Like I could just play with these for hours. So if you have students that maybe need like a little distraction sometimes, those could be good for that. Okay. So many things, a couple other things. I have 3 copies of these Little Book of Hindu Deities, and you can't really see it in this shot, but I have I used to have the big book of Hindu deities, and I pulled that apart and turned them into posters. I haven't been able to ever find the big book again, like on Amazon. It's been sold out for years, but you can get the little book, and there's just like information about all these like hundreds of Hindu gods. So it's just kind of a fun thing to do during that chapter, that unit, and I just kind of spread these out and let kids look at the different gods. I am 0% more organized. This one I keep meaning to read. It's by the same illustrator, yeah, Sanjay Patel, and then he also does the YouTube short, which you can, or no, it's not YouTube short, Pixar short on Disney Plus, Sanjay's Super Team. So you can also watch that when you know, are in your Hinduism unit and like put all this art and stuff together. So this, I think, is a little bit more of a story from like beginning to end. So I haven't really gone through all of this, but more beautiful images. Oh, this is another one that you can use during like your Ancient India unit, an Indian alphabet book. P is for poppadoms. I remember a couple years ago we were like in circles and we just like read this in a circle, and each student read a page and we just like handed it around. And that was really fun. So it's, you know, pretty short reading on each page, but it was kind of fun to have all the kids sitting in a circle and then like pretending we were in kindergarten, and they would like read the page and kind of like show everyone the illustrations and stuff. And so I think we probably had a little more than 26 kids, but you know, we allowed a few to skip or something maybe. This is another book you can use for Ancient India. So we celebrate Holi. We do like a Holi festival thing, the festival of colors with all the color powder. And so you can read this book to your students, Festival of Colors. Vashti Harrison is like my all-time favorite illustrator. So good. During Women's History Month, I had this one out, Herstory, 50 Women and Girls Who Shook Up the World. And really I should pull from this more like during different units. There's not a lot of like ancient women in here. I don't know, it's cool though. Kids just can like take it if they're, you know, finished early or something and just kind of like flip through it. Yeah, these are more like modern people, I guess, but still a very cool book, still very fun cover, very eye-catching. When I was young, we did not have all of these just like beautiful books. Like I feel like all the history books in the library and stuff just looked super boring and these all look so cool. Here's another one we used during our Ancient India unit, Ashoka the Fierce. If you have the DBQ binder, like mini Qs, your school can like purchase those for you, and there is a mini Q about Ashoka. And yeah, this story is really cool. We read this at the end after we analyzed like the documents about his life, and we talked about how we would have written a children's book about his life. So that one's very cool. These ones, these next two I got sent by this publisher, Flying Eye Books, and they're just super pretty like geography books. So this one is about Yellowstone. I actually didn't even use it in class, but for US history, this would be really cool once you start talking about like national parks. And then like here's a section on like the Nez Perce, geysers. I mean, this is just like a gorgeous book. This would be really, really fun for talking about Yellowstone. So I'm just keeping this for the future. And then we did actually use this one. I used the Everest one because when we talk about ancient China and ancient India, you know, the border between those two is the Himalayas and Mount Everest. So it's got some animals in there, information about the geography and traveling, and yeah, all of that. So these are really cool books. I like that they also include like the people, the indigenous people to these places. Oh, I have like two more over here. Hold on. Okay, this one I used multiple times throughout the year. This one is called Salt by Mark Kurlansky, and it's based on like a adult book, you know, like a historical monograph called Salt. And then I've actually read Cod. Don't I have Cod's Tale? Oh, there it is. Hold on. Yes, here we go. Okay, so this one is about cod. This one is about salt. They actually go together quite well because you have to salt the cod sometimes. I read this one first, like the full book about cod. It's just so interesting. Like that's just the lens through which he writes about history, just like what role did cod play in the history of Europeans and Americans and in Iceland and in wars and in immigration and all these types of things, economics, the Navy, all kinds of stuff, slavery, just all kinds of things that you wouldn't think cod was so central to. And then these are, you know, a children's book version with all of that history. So this one is awesome. I didn't actually really use this one in class. I just was super interested in it for myself. But then with each civilization that we studied, we read that section about that. And I just took pictures of the pages and put them in like a slide deck. And so for ancient China, like the way that they paid for the Great Wall was with salt. And then like the Roman Empire is an empire of salt. This is how they got their money. It's got a lot of maps in there and just like illustrations of, yeah, the way that salt made different empires very wealthy, and that's how they were able to do so many of the things that they did. So it's absolutely fascinating, and then I would recommend as a teacher, like you can just read the full book for all the details, but these are really cool to use in class. And then lastly, I have this one called When the Schools Shut Down, a young girl's story of Virginia's lost generation and the Board of Brown v. Board of Education. I read a different book, We Are Your Children Too, I think, something like that. I made videos about it and put it on my Instagram and stuff, but then this was a, you know, children's book version of that one, and that was actually like a young adult book, like a middle grades book. And then there's also a just adult version of it. There's so much else going on in my brain right now. It can't recall information because I'm thinking about all these things that I have to do. But anyway, if you just Google like school shut down Virginia. So after Brown v. Board of Education, after like segregation was illegal in Prince Edward County, I believe it is, doesn't say, but they were just like, all right, we're not gonna have school. So they just shut schools down. And this story picked up traction again during like COVID-19 and the pandemic, and you know how we moved school to online, and we were just like up in arms and livid about these schools being closed. And there were historians who were like, you know, this has happened before, right? And they were kind of drawing parallels between just similarities, you know, between these two events. And so yeah, this is like, if you're a teacher, this is a very important part of the legacy of public schools. Like this is something all teachers should know, and we really should have been taught it in our like teaching credential programs. I never was, but it's a really fascinating and awful history, like the lengths that people will go to not integrate, or you know, to not have their kids read certain books or hear about certain parts of history or whatever. So you know, this is far from over, but this is a really good book. I didn't actually use it with my class this year. I got it because I was comparing it to the like other versions of that story and that history. So okay, that there are all the books. They are no more organized now than they were before, but I'll put them away eventually. So anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but if I can get this edited before we run our next Brave History Conference. The last one went super well, and we're having another one in August, on August 5th, so I'll leave the information for that down below, and I hope you can join us for that. There's a lot more, you know, like cool resources and stuff like this that you can use to make your history teaching more exciting, but also just like deeper and more meaningful. So thank you again for watching this video. I will see you soon. Bye.